in recruitment. That was my hook. The guest today, over 15 years of experience. But can I please just give you the opportunity to deliver a nice introduction of who you are to everyone who's joining us tonight?
All right. Thank you, Coach Mpendulo. As you have said, my name is Nnana, and I have indeed, it's even over 15 years experience. And I would not necessarily call it in recruitment, but I would say in the talent space, because that's where recruitment really starts. We recruit talent into the space of work. And in that experience, I have had the opportunity to work both in public and the private sector, and I've also been in consulting. And also, as I grow in my career, I have also been in a space where I am in psychometric assessment as well, and also supporting the recruitment journey as well in industry. I'm also a coach now, and also supporting people in terms of like we are here now, what is really happening on the other side. So I'm now someone who's now coaching people that how do you prepare for an interview from a coaching perspective? How do you impress your future employer? What are the things that they are looking for? So I play around that space. And most importantly, to also say, what is the one thing that would attract you to your future employers? And also we'll talk about that in a detail in a detailed moment. But I'm basically, I would say I am in a space where I really help young people to grow. And I'm saying young people because those are the most people that would tend to be looking for opportunities in the world of work. And even if they go through the interview, are successful, then how do you transition from that into being fully transitioned into the world of work? So that's where I am playing, and or that's where my expertise are lying.
What a powerful introduction. What a powerful and broad introduction. I'm looking forward to hearing from the snippets of your bio. I can tell that tonight we're going to learn a lot. One of the things that stood out for me when you started, you said, Benduro, not just recruitment, but talent. Someone might be sitting like, well, recruitment, talent. Can you please go or broaden what you mean by that? What do you mean you're looking for talent? Can I give you context to why I'm asking that? You know, people, they tend to look for jobs and start saying things like, "Shami ngicela ungiqashe, ekhaya siyi-15, ngicela ungiqashe, I'm a single parent, ngicela ungiqashe." And so based on what you're saying, I'm looking for talent. But people are using sympathy. They want to be felt sympathy to get jobs. Can you please tell us, what are you guys looking for? What is this talent you're talking about?
Yeah, yes, Mpendulo, we don't normally look for people to just fill in vacancies that are available. We're looking for talent. And when we talk about talent, we talk about people that can come into the organization and also grow inside the organization. So you don't want someone who would come, I'll make an example of a call center agent. You don't want someone who will come as a call center agent and remain a call center agent forever. That is just an employee. But when you're looking for talent, you're looking for someone who has the potential to grow within the organization. Once you find the talent, it comes into the organization, you nurture the talent, you support, you develop the talent, you ensure, you coach, you put them through development. So that's why we're saying we're not just looking for people, we're looking for talent. We look for people that have potential, that have got a good learning attitude, that have got learning agility, that can fit into the culture of the organization, that can show emotional intelligence, and how the person can learn and be taught to solve business problems that we often encounter in the world of work.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. So clearly, as I stand in front of you right now and I'm quiet, you can't say Mpendulo is talented. There should be a way that you guys in the recruitment space are able to identify talent. And I want you to give us a tip on that, because some people, we call it undersell themselves. They're not able to put themselves out there so that you guys will identify to say, oh, this person, Tembi, has talent. Let's bring them. How do you identify this talent?
So you are right. Most people undersell themselves, and you find that because they have undersold themselves, they come across as if they are not talent to that organization. But what we want to see, and when we're looking for talent, is that if you have experience, we want to see what have you done, what problems have you solved, and what new things have you learned. I came in the organization, and this is what I didn't know how to solve problems, but I learned, I put myself through a development, and this is what I've learned. That's one. We want to see what attitude do you have? Do you have an attitude that says, I can do it. I am willing to learn, being able to open to correction. So we want to see all those things. And because a skill is something that we can train, but with the right attitude, the talent can go very far. And we also look for learning agility. Are you able to learn new things? Are you able that you don't know? And how quickly are you able to learn those things? And so those are some of the things that we also are looking for when we look for talent.
Okay, so am I correct to say the CV is the one that you tend to look at those things that you just highlighted right now? And is it only a CV that is being used to identify talent in the recruitment space, or there are other ways of identifying talent to bring in the recruitment space? Another thing that I want to say, you see, if I'm an entry level graduate and maybe someone who's already escalating or in their mid or executive, let's make it three. There's the entry level graduate, mid level, and then there's executive. What are the things that you look for in these different people? Because I know that a graduate, probably they don't have much information to share in the CV. What is it that you guys are looking for?
So let's start first with the graduate. Graduate is an entry level, fresh from university, no experience. So there we normally would not really look much for experience, but the most important thing that I always, when I'm working with young people, it's your attitude to learn new things, your learning agility. How quickly can you learn these new things? And to always have a teachable spirit, because sometimes you find that when you go into the world of work, you find does not really show the kind of experience that you have at a particular time, and you find yourself that you are more educated than them, or you have more degrees than what the people that you find into the organization. How willing are you to allow those people to teach you and to give you the experience that they have already have in the industry? So that is the important things that we look for in a graduate, or when we are bringing in graduates into the graduate program. And we also would take them through a simple psychometric assessment as well, that will tell us their personality style and how is that going to be related into the role. We'll talk about that in a little bit while, but it's just also one of the things that we look at. And then we also look at things such as how you performed from an academic perspective. We're not necessarily saying we're looking for your cum laudes, but we look for consistency in your performance. How consistent were you throughout your studies? So just from an entry perspective. Then when we look at the talent, internal talent that we have, or more experienced talent in the world of work, we look at things such as obviously experience. Then we want evidence-based, or evidence that we can prove. What problems have you solved? When you say on your CV, let's say it's a first line management role, people that are reporting directly to you. When you say that I've managed people before, it's very vague, it's broad. When you say you've managed people, it can be meaning that you've managed one person or two people, but we want you to be specific. In my experience, I have managed a team of 15 people that reported directly to me, and I was responsible for them. Do you hear how specific that is? So we want to look for those kind of information in terms of saying how many people. Secondly, you want to say, I've solved problems, or I have done projects. What kind of projects have you done? You need to be very specific. I was working with in the introduction of AI into our organization. I was responsible for policy or research. What were you doing in that project? What was the project? What was your role? And also more explaining to say, how did you contribute, or what was the learning in the project that you worked for? Then when we go into a more senior roles, we look for leadership capability. And when we talk about leadership capability, is that we no longer now looking for someone that can manage people, but someone that can lead people, someone that can give birth to other leaders. So where you just don't lead people, but you also walk the journey with them and train them to become leaders. How many people in your leadership previously have you successfully worked with, developed, and helped them to become other leaders as well? So that's what we look. So it differs. I'm happy that you managed to differentiate between all the levels, because it differs from one level to the next. Thank you.
I want to take you a little bit back because I have a lot of questions. The more you share, I'm so happy of how you explain. People should consider having you as a coach. You explained very, very, very nice. Before I move forward, I want us to go back a little bit. Is a CV the only thing you guys use to identify talent, or there's other ways that you guys use to identify potential candidates for a certain role?
No, a CV is not the only tool or mechanism that we use to identify talent. It is a combination of a number of things that we use to identify talent. So you start first with the CV, then you would go to an interview, and now other businesses, they have also introduced what they call coffee chats, to just have a snippet in terms of how do you connect with this person, to get something more on top of the CV before the actual interview. Then on top of the interview, you have your reference checks, you have your psychometric assessment, you have your qualifications, the verifications, the criminal checks that we do, and all these things that I've listed, then they are the ones that will help the hiring manager to make that final decision and say, this is the candidate that is likely to be coming into the industry. And with graduate recruitment, we've also, what we've seen, most graduates, because of the high volume recruitment there's also quite now a lot of video interviewing, where you will be sent a set of questions and you'd likely to answer those questions on the video, and you send the questions through, and then that also forms part of the entire recruitment process. So with bulk recruitment, that's where you'd see more video interviewing, a set of questions sent before you answer them on the video on a certain platform, then you send them through as part of the recruitment process as well for bulk roles.
Okay, so now, Coach Nan, you are looking for talent. You're looking to recruit, whether you can take us to the step of graduate, mid, executive. Would love that because we have different people in the platform. Now, you're looking for 1 or 2 people. And then you receive 500 CVs in your desk, if that is still happening, because now you've about taken the ATS, you can confirm if that is really the case, and if the ATS is really there, how many normally comes to you. Now, with the bunch of CVs that you have, and you need to hire the best person for the role, what is it? What technique? What happens? Can you take me through? What do? Do you just browse the CVs? What makes you stop and look at the CV and say potential? How do you? What is the word? How do you select from the bunch?
Yeah, that is very important. I mean, and with the high unemployment rate in South Africa, you would still find those high number of applications even in when you are looking for one role. But a CV that is clear, that is relevant and tailored to the role immediately stands out. So you can clearly see how a person is introducing himself. You don't have to do a whole cover letter on your CV, but just the first snippets, the first page, first top sentence really attracts one to say, yes, I want to learn more about this person. And secondly, in that bunch, I look for impact rather than responsibilities. What impact has this person been doing in his career or in her career or throughout the school? Because we often sometimes look at, this person was volunteering for this, or this person also volunteered for this. Yes, I will also love to look at that. Now, this is on top of the clear CV. And where you always make sure that your achievements, things that you have achieved, either at school, things that you have achieved either in your previous employment, in your previous experience, are on the first page of the CV. They capture attention. But if your CV, your achievements are right at the back of the last page of the CV, it's not going to attract me. I might miss it. But with people that have put their achievements on the front page, it's likely to capture attention because those are some of the things that also demonstrate value. And also, most importantly, what makes it out of the bunch of thousands of CVs that we look for, it is a CV that's easy to read, that is professionally presented. I mean, there's so many people and professionals, including yourself, that help people to rewrite their CV, to package themselves nicely, professionally presenting the CVs, and they are focused on the role being applied for, because you don't want to just send a generic CV for everything, but look at what the role requires. How does your CV, your experience, your skills, your school, your qualification matches what the role requires? That brings attention to someone sifting through 1,000 of CVs. Yes.
In the interviews now, they like giving us scenarios and they want us to say situations. That's what you guys do. So now I want to turn the table and request for a situation from your side. Have you ever, you and the panel, hired someone who was not the most qualified out of the people that you interviewed? this candidate was not the most qualified, or this candidate did not really have what we were looking for, but we ended up hiring that person. Have you ever had a situation like that? If you've heard, what did that look like, and why did you guys end up hiring that person?
Yes, and we've had that incident before, and that I was in consulting. We were looking for a support staff, and the lady that we looked at, was a bit shy for someone who's going to be a receptionist, and was not very articulate, and with only matric as a qualification. And what made us as a panel to go for her specifically was her honesty. Her honesty. And as we were asking her interviews, she said to us, I am going to struggle to express myself in some of the questions because I really struggle with my English vocabulary. So please bear with me, as sometimes I'm going to really struggle to express myself. And in other areas where she also did not have experience, she was honest to say, I don't have experience to do this kind of thing that you're asking me, but I am willing to learn, and this is how I am going to ensure that I learn the things that I don't have experience on. So the person was very honest and was very vulnerable in terms of he wanted the work. He had been unemployment for over 5 years post her matric. He was in that state of now I need to work. And to say that even in that state of desperation, even in that state of saying I need to find the work ASAP, there was honesty and there was high self-awareness in terms of what she could and she could not be able to do. So we ended up hiring the person because we knew that this person, when she struggles with something, she's not going to hide mistakes. She's going to come and say, I don't know how to do this, but I'm willing to learn. So those are some of the things that will help us look for or overlook qualifications sometimes, that honesty and that vulnerability in terms of what you know, what you don't know, and what you are willing to learn.
Wow, I think what you just shared, it just shows that at the end of the day, the people that are hiring, these are human beings as well.
Yes, yes.
We tend to try and impress so much that we end up overdoing. I remember I had a conversation with my senior manager, and he was like, I was interviewing someone, Pendulo, go and tell your people how this person will interview her, and then now she brings AI questions to us. Now she's interviewing her, trying to impress, and it's actually working against them. But keeping it honest and just be authentic always work. So Coach Nnana, guys, you can start requesting now. I will bring in for questions. I'll follow who requested first. What are the mistakes that we are doing as job seekers, especially as we are looking for opportunities?
There is quite a number of mistakes that job seekers tend to be able to, or that's common mistakes even that tend to be done by the job seekers. And just on top of my head, the most important one is over-representing your skills or things that you can be able to really do. Because if you tell me you can do something, I would one day come in and ask you to do it, and that would be a problem. So over misrepresenting what you can and what you cannot do. Here's an example. So we were interviewing and we wanted a certain accreditation. And in that accreditation, it's there on the CV. It was attractive. We called the person in for the interview and we asked him about what are some of the things on that accreditation that can help success in the role? And the person just went and said, yeah, but you don't have to be stuck into that one accreditation. There's so many methodologies that you can do. Whereas the role was very specific into saying, we want someone who's accredited in this because this is the methodology that we want to use, or we are using in the role. So don't over present yourself. Present the truth. Present who you are on your CV. Just make it professional, make it attractive, your achievements up front, but don't over present yourself or talk about things that you don't really know or you don't really have, but that you are still working on. So that's one of the mistakes that people often do on their CVs or during an interview.
I have few questions that I prepared for this session before I close. The first one is saying, I'm Pendulo. I haven't been working for 5 years plus. What advice would you give me so that, like, I want to go back to the job market? I want to be competitive again. I haven't been working for 5 years. How can I impress a recruiter? How can I come back and be competitive and be relevant again in the job market?
Okay. So, which is something that has happened to all of us. I mean, post my degree, I won't say when, but I stayed home for 3 years and in looking for work. And this is the experience that I always tell people, then that I carry dear to that I always carry with me all the time. Always in that time when you are unemployed, make sure that you read a lot in terms of what is happening at work, what is on the news, what is interesting. And now it's even better because back in the day you would want to go and buy a newspaper or wait for the news at 7 o'clock in the evening. But now information is available every day, every hour, every second. The social media that we tend to sit and scroll on, there is information there. Just go on the section of the news. They do post what's important, what is happening, what are the new trends in the graduate industry in that areas. And you will, when you talk about those things, you said that, no, I have been following this and this and this, and I have seen that this is what is happening in this industry, and I have been reading about it. You know, the person has not been economically active, but the person shows interest that although I'm not working, I'm not just sitting and folding my arms, but I am reading and following up on what is happening in my space or in the industry that I want to go and work in. So always read information. Now it's far easily available. Articles are always available. I mean, the news channel is now running 24/7. It's no longer news at a certain time. So you can be able to follow in the industry that you are in, or read about what is happening in the industry. That really shows the recruiter that the attitude is in the right space. The skills, the experience, we can always train and impart, but that the hiring managers will be able to give you the opportunity because you've shown that even though you are not economically active, but you're still keeping tabs and following what is happening, even though you are still unemployed.
My guest is getting more gifts than me. Thank you, Coach Boo. I see Coach Boo at least is liking their live. Guys, can you please tap the screen and let's get 200K likes. I saw someone is saying that they have an interview. They have an interview tomorrow. And my next question was going to say, Pastor T, I also saw you have questions. Guys, please start requesting. I will bring you in to come and ask Coach Nnana yourselves. What are the interview answers? You can give us an example with the question and the answer. What are the answers that normally impress you as Coach Nnana? And what are the answers that normally turns you off and you're like, yo, I'm marking this person down? Mistakes that we do in interviews.
Okay, let's start with the ones that turns me off. Must we now ask competency-based interviews? And we ask you about a certain scenario. How did you solve this problem? Instead of saying that, I've never had an opportunity to work with such a problem, but this is how I would go about it when I solve the problem. But you just give a group analysis, and to a point where we need to give a follow-up question to say, but what was your role in that problem and what was the outcome? So you've just given us a general answer, and we had to probe a little bit further to say, what was your role and what was the outcome? If you don't have experience in a particular subject, just say, I have not had an opportunity to work with this particular question or the subjects that you're asking me, but this is how I would go about working or solving that problem. Then my favorite question of them all, and this is the question that people often struggle to respond. Tell me about yourself. Why is it my favorite person? Because my favorite question for people. It is an opportunity for us to sell who you are and what you are bringing into this organization. And often people tend to miss that about themselves. Tell me about yourself. People will go and just go off script. If you are going for an interview for a certain role, you need to understand the role that you're applying for. And when they say, tell me about yourself, if you're applying for an administration role, you need to talk about who you are in an administration role. And I am a diverse person. I resolve problems quickly. I solve problems quickly. If I don't understand something, I ask questions. I pay attention to detail. I am very organized. You see how you've sold yourself towards the role. Not just I am a 25-year-old girl from Tuba. We already know that we have your CV. When we say, tell us about yourself, we want to say, what is it about you that you know about yourself that is likely to be applicable into this role? It's my favorite question, and as one of the favorite questions. The second favorite question is, do you have any questions for us as the panel? And people always often miss to understand either the organization that they are going into, and I don't know whether it's because of the toughness of the interview and they say, no, I don't have any questions. One of the candidates that I was interviewing came with questions that he wrote down. When we said, do you have any questions that you want to ask? He opened his diary and he started asking us questions. I was like, this is another level of preparedness. And that really showed me that, this person took time, looked at the role, wanted to understand. And some of the simple questions that people can ask is that, what is the career path in this role? If I'm coming in, where am I going? What is the development path looks like for the people in the organization? Why is the role vacant? what kind of a person are you looking for? There's just so many simple, less intimidating questions that people can really ask. But if you are prepared for the interview, you can write your questions down, because sometimes we are humans, we do forget, especially after an hour or 45 minutes or 30 minutes of answering questions. Write them down, bring your diary or your paper with, and when it's time to an opportunity for you to ask the panel questions, just open and ask the questions. You'll remember and you'll ask the questions.
Yeah, like I said earlier on, I had a situation where they said, go and tell your people to stop asking us AI questions. We are interviewing them. They must not start interviewing us. Because sometimes, the managers, you will ask them a question and then they feel like you are an intimidator. So I don't know. I don't know. I guess people have to also follow their gut. Last two before I take in, I see people have started requesting. Cover letters. Do you guys read our cover letter? Do you guys read the summary, that part in our CV that says about me, and the cover letter? And if you don't, which part of my CV or my application I should focus on? And my last question for tonight, but I'll give you to remind me if I left any of the questions that you think are important. What is one thing that candidates should stop doing immediately when they're applying for jobs?
So a cover letter, we do read a cover letter. If the recruiter asks for a cover letter before he goes for your CV, that's the first thing that the recruiter will look at. The cover letter, it's an invitation to say, come see more what I have. You just summarize. These are you don't go into detail on your cover letter. You give us an executive summary of your experience, executive summary of who you are. And that invites us to go more into your CV. That first sentence or the first executive summary on your CV, that's the first thing that we look at if we want to read more on your CV. And that the cover letter even is particularly more for professionals and leadership roles. It already attracts us to you as a leader or as a professional. But that summary also is quite important at the first page on top of your CV, and it also attracts us. So it should cover letter should complement your CV, not compensate, but it should complement your CV. Remind me of the second question again.
What is one thing that candidates should stop doing immediately?
When they are preparing or during an interview?
Both.
Okay. Candidates, they need to stop taking interviews for granted. Sometimes it is your opportunity. Even if I say, I know I want this person or that other candidate. Remember the questions that you were talking about, that, sometimes people just come for interview. It is your opportunity to change my mind as a recruiter to say, hey, I'm here. Look at me. People need to prepare for interviews. As much as we feel sometimes people feel that it is a process but prepare for the interview. Recruiters or as panels, we can see and we can tell when people are not prepared for an interview. There are so many books, there is so many information even on Google, whether you use AI, whether you use that will give you a question and tips on how to answer those questions. Prepare. You can give us an AI answer, but it shows that you have prepared. But the first thing that people need to stop doing immediately is to come to interviews unprepared. One. Number two, it is to take for granted that when you are told come in 30 minutes before the interview because there is a visitor's induction that you need to do, to take that for granted and you come 10 minutes before the interview and the induction itself takes 15 minutes. Now people must wait for you because you are late and you want to give people excuses. Respect time, always be on time, always be early for interviews. First impressions last, always. It still is and will still remain. First impressions last. Preparation, 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 preparation. Lack of preparation, people are going to see mediocrity, and people don't really hire mediocrity. So even if it's bulk recruitment, even if they are looking, but when you are prepared, when you are on time, when you understand that you are competing with a number of people that you don't even know, you are likely to just ensure that you are always prepared. There is nothing as over preparation. Always prepare and be on time.
I will be taking in my first person who requested, but while this person is coming in, I had a situation where an HR person said, "Mpendule, please go and talk to your people. People are showing up in an interview wearing pajamas because it's virtual." And then they said, tweet, and then they are wearing pajamas or gym wear. They're not showing up in the corner. People go in an interview and they start crying, telling us their problems, and it does not work for us. I'm saying this because you said something about someone who was honest earlier on. Honesty about what the way she shared, but if someone comes in with like, I'm a single parent, attitude, and then you start crying, does that work for or against the person, them explaining their problems more than they even explain what they bring in the table? Because when you shared, tell us about yourself, in my mind I was like, okay, literally this question is saying, what do you bring in the table, based on how you told us we should prompt it.
So, no, we don't want to hear about your personal problems. That's not what we are here for. But what we want to hear, what we want to see is being able to be authentic. Even if you say, there's always a way of bringing up some of the issues without necessarily saying for them. And one of the things, if you are really at that space where you are a single parent and you are in a corner, you really need the job, is to prepare for that interview, is to understand what the role wants, is to show examples, is to be able to be honest to say, I have not done this, but this is how I would approach it. And that is also one way of saying, yeah, this person really wants this role, and but we don't want people to it's almost like taking advantage of other people. And I'll give you this example. One day we were recruiting for BASAs because they also must form part of the recruitment. And one lady came with the baby on the back. And he didn't say, I'm here, I don't have anyone to look after my baby. He just came in quiet, set, very clean, very professional, and the baby was there. He did not, I tell you to this day, she did not ask for anyone's help. She just sat on the desk, on one of the desks there, and he completed. And the desks were a little bit smaller and it was starting to be uncomfortable. That's when I offered to help for the baby. But because he did not really use the baby as an excuse to come and write, but he was just saying, I am here, I showed up with my baggage, but I'm going to make sure that my baggage is not a problem to anyone. I will take care of my own baggage, but I'm not willing to lose this opportunity. So we've helped her, we accommodate her, understanding that, circumstances are different for people. But once immediately you walk in and you start wanting to use this baby, there may be 5 or 6 other people that have children, but that have made other plans. But he just walked in, kept quiet, and started responding. As I think was question 4 or 5, then we saw how uncomfortable her and the baby started to feel, and we started supporting her so that she could finish. I mean, it was just an hour and he was done and everything went well. He got the bursary because he's got the skills, and he got the aptitude, and it was not that he wanted to burden anyone with her own situation, but he never wanted to miss an opportunity. Yes.
Wow. Wow. Oh, that was so nice to hear. That is so encouraging to hear. I think we have 9 minutes remaining. Then tap a screen. At least it's 100K, but at least 100. Pastor T.
Good evening, guys. Ninjani.
I feel.
Yeah, I just want to ask something, guys. Let me say there is the job. I've applied for the job, but the problem is I don't have qualifications for that job, but I do have experience of that job. I just want to know, if I go to interview, what are disadvantage and advantage of that thing?
Usually, if you don't have qualifications, recruiters, and they see the experience, and you've made it through the long list and the short list, and you are now into the interview. When you go into the interview, the recruiters are not necessarily interested in your qualification. They've already seen that you don't have the qualification. And what they want to see is, remember we said we look for attitude, we look for learning agility. They want to see your culture, how are you likely to fit within the organization, because some of the organizations, they do hire people without the qualification if they have the right attitude, the potential, the learning agility, their emotional intelligence, and they can fit from a culture perspective. And then they take people through the qualification that is required as part of development. So we invite you for the interview so that you can be able to show us this based on the experience that you already have.
Okay, I think we lost our guest, but you answered the question. Letabo?
Hello, good evening. How's everybody doing?
We are good, Letabo, and how are you?
I'm good as well. Okay, thank you. I just have one question, if I can go ahead.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes. So when you referred to, or you were giving insights regarding the CV content on including perhaps skills that someone is quite confident in, and make sure that it's the real representation of their skills and not below that or even over that, where you start including things that you're not knowledgeable about. So my question is it not also important to also on the CV be a little bit more optimistic? I think you can know a little bit of something and not maybe in its entirety, but you find that even that little 2% of knowledge, it's worth putting on your CV. Because now we live in the day and age where our CVs go through an 8-year system. And without including some of those 2% of knowledge in our CVs, they tend to fall off from that 8 years scoring. So in this day and age, is it also not just a little bit important to include those 2% skill set or abilities in our CVs, just so that we can go through interview and maybe show a little bit of the attitude and the agility that we have? I think for me, that's the question.
Okay, I would be very wary to put in on your CV something that you don't have experience on, because it almost feels like you are a person that looks good on paper, because you'll put it, the 8 years will put you through, as you've said, but when it comes to the interview and you are unable to answer on the experience that you have put on your CV, you are a person that looks good on paper. And good recruiters, they can be able to even look at the CVs that somehow were rejected by the ATS, and they will be able to pick up some of the good people that they would still need to interview. The ATS is not the be and the end all. It is a means to an end. It is a tool that we use. But sometimes if we don't find the person that we're looking for, we go back and try and find all the CVs that were rejected and look at those. But I would be caution you not to be the person that looks good on paper, because when it comes to the real interview, it's likely to be a disadvantage. It almost looks like you have misrepresented yourself.
Okay, thank you, Coach. I appreciate your insights. It's something I've actually done, so I'm simply asking because it's something I noticed works a lot. And I guess I would also reiterate back and say why. I usually find out that once you're hired into some of these jobs, in fact, they don't use all your skill sets. So some of the skill sets that you may have brought through, they become quite irrelevant. So in a way, there's a possibility that some of the requirements, even on the CV, can become irrelevant the minute you get into a job. And I think for me, it questions even some of the recruitment practices in the first place. But I'll leave it here. Thank you.
Thank you, Letabo.
Yes, thank you, Letabo. You can go, Ronald.
Good evening, good people. And thanks for the great work that you're doing. One of the Coach Spoo team. So my question is, what are the disadvantages for some of us that are internationally? I've been away, I'll be 2 years now, in the UAE. I'm currently looking to come back home because I'm thinking things are not working out as I planned. So what are the disadvantages that the recruiters sees on us, the international people? Is it money or is it what? Because I've been trying to reach out to few people without any good response.
Thank you, Ronald. It's not necessarily that you're not getting good responses because you based on your international experience. It is a very tough period in South Africa, high unemployment rate, and you must always remember that it's a competition. And you are competing against other people that have local experience, that have been here, and where the recruiter, there might be a number of reasons, and one of them may be that it is you may be more expensive than the locals that are just around and that cannot cost the business so much. But it is a very tough competition, and it really differs from one organization to the next. And don't give up, keep on looking. There is an organization that you will find that is looking for your skill set and experience.
Okay, thank you. This follow-up question, is it wisely now to say, let's say Coach Boo is hiring, I'm connected to Coach Boo on LinkedIn. He's an HR for company A. And then after I've submitted my application, whether through their board or LinkedIn, reached out to him and say, hey, Coach Boo, I've applied for a position of this that you have advertised. Can you please consider my CV and let's talk before interview, just to say, I'm looking for this, don't consider finance. Is it advisable to do so?
No, I would not advise you to do that, especially now that you have already applied. It almost seems like you are getting an unfair advantage on the other candidates that are not connected to Coach Boo on LinkedIn. So you just play your ear out and trust that your skills, your CV, your qualifications, your experience will be enough to get you through into the interview. And I also don't think that even if Coach Boo is recruiting, will be in a position to be able to, the tips will just be there on the job profile for any other candidate, but I don't think the recruiter would be able to give you additional pointers outside of the formal interview process.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Ronald. I think we have Mona Lisa.
Thank you. Mona Lisa, please go.
Good evening, guys. Mpendulo, thank you so much for this live. This is actually the second time I come across your live. I joined when you had Coach Boo. So today I did ask and you were like, we've got Coach Nnana, she's in recruitment. I was like, I need to stay, So Coach Nnana, I actually want to transition into your field, ne? I am currently in a financial institution. I think I have over 6 years experience in ops. So now what I'm actively doing is to fill in the gaps for someone that wants to transition, right? I'm trying to check that for any role which is advertised, where are my gaps so that I'm able to fill it, maybe through secondments, maybe through job shadowing, so that I can cover that part. At least it gives me an advantage. Ne? So from your perspective, as a recruiter, with someone that is in management and wants to transition, what gaps would you say that this person needs to, close so that they can be at a better advantage compared to the other candidates?
Mona Lisa, that is quite important, and I found I have been in a situation where you've been, because when I started working, I was an administrator, and wanting to be in human resources. I love people. And I was sitting there and thinking, but what am I going to do? Because now this is not the career ladder that I want to follow. So what I did is that I went to the HR department in our region, and then I asked to say, this is what I want to do. And this is what I want to do. I want to be in HR, but at this moment I'm in this admin role. So what is your advice? What can I do? They said that no, there's always extra work to do here. So if you are willing, we can give you some of the work to do. You can do it in your own time. You can do it after hours. And then I started helping them. And that's one way of doing it. Secondly, you can talk to someone that is already in the role that you want to go into and get to understand what is required into this role, what makes success into this role, and what will lead to failure into this role. In nowadays, roles, positions has got success profiles, and it tells you what would make success in that. You take the information, you look at what you have, it will give you, you do your own gap analysis to say, I want to go here, this is what is required, and this is what I still don't have, and you take active steps to close the gap. But the most effective one is to always job shadow, volunteer, to work with people that are into that role. That really helps because you get to understand the works. You help the team whenever they need help, or the person into that role. You gain practical experience, and you'd likely to raise your hand as part of development into the role.
Okay. No, I hear you. Thank you so much for that. I think with like raising your hand is something that I've already started to do. I was reading the comments. People were saying that, oh, I feel so demotivated and all of that because of rejections. Just last week only, I had like 4 rejections. On top of that, I had sent additional requests for secondments, but at least I have a positive one, which I'm hoping that it can yield actually positive results. So yeah, I think I do get how I need to close the gaps so that it at least it gives me please Coach Spoon, he's disturbing me here. Yes, that's God, I even lost my train of thought. Sorry about that. But there are 2 things that I am taking away from this live, right? At the beginning of when I was listening, when Coach Nnana started talking, I think most of us, we are not able to speak about our achievements, especially in an interview, because your achievements is what will sell you, right? I just went back to last year to say that from an ops perspective, mid-year, I only had like 1 person who was right on track. Then the rest of the team were making progress. But then by the end of the year, when I check where my team is at, I'm checking that I had 1 setting the example, 6 right on tracks, and then 1 making progress. So for me, that is actually an achievement. So I think I'm going to start using that as, as a selling point to say that this is what I have achieved in the past year, and I think it will give me an advantage.
Absolutely.
So yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mpendulo.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Today I'm busy muting and muting myself because hey, I have a full house. I think this is where we're gonna land today. So Coach Nnana, if someone is like, no man, I need help. Coach Nnana, how do I consult with you? How do I get your services or help in my journey?
Okay. Because during the day, either in sessions, because I'm also facilitating, I'm coaching, it's very difficult to get hold of me through picking up the phone and call. But I think email is the best way to get in contact with me. And the people can email me, and I don't know if you can be able to share the email address or how we can share the email address, and then I will be able to respond. It may not be immediately when you send the email, because quite a hectic schedule during the day, but after hours over the weekend, I'm working. I will be available to give advice and support as much as I can.
Okay, I think I'll get your email, and then when I post our conversation on YouTube, I'll include it like a description.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Coach. And I think I want you to also come back as well, because I want to talk about salary negotiation so bad. I want to talk about salary negotiation. I really feel like I know I'm underpaid, and it's so hard to negotiate a salary, especially if they're hiring you and you've never worked before. You will take whatever that they're offering you. So I would really, really love to have you back and we discuss that. To everyone online, thank you so much, Coach Wu, for coming as well. I really, really feel honored when I see my coaches in my sessions. Also, because Coach Wu is the one that defined my company. That's why I have this conversation. He said, you can't just write CVs. You have to turn this into a media house. I hope you are seeing that I'm doing the work. I'm really, really covering events now. So thank you so much, Coach Nnana. Thank you so much for coming to TikTok, because you came because of me.
Yeah,
I'm never gonna find you.
Yeah. No, I was never gonna be on TikTok, to tell the truth. I came because of you, and because I believe in the work that you do. It's something that we needed, and we need to do what we wished people would have done for us back in the day when we were still in the recruitment process. So happy very much to learn something new. I'm out of my comfort zone and I made it. So
yay! Okay, I since I valid session. Thank you so
All
much,
right.
guys.
Thank
By
you. Thank
Friday,
you.
Saturday, the conversation will be live. You'll find the email, and if you want to contact Coach Nnana, you'll definitely find the email there. Well, but I'm not sure if she will respond on TikTok, but we hope and pray. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. Have a
Okay,
lovely evening.
bye.
Bye.